we should get into the strikes, because I don't want to be streaming all night, but I do have some stuff that I want to talk about. So we'll start with that. So if you are not aware, workers are kind of being based right now. It turns out that when you're being exploited for so long, people tend to not want that. So we're seeing a lot of industries doing some strikes and doing some unionization, and I wanted to talk about it today. There's like a lot to go over, but I felt it was important because like all of this stuff is kind of interconnected in its own small way. So to start, I'm going to take a look at this. I wanted to start here because this was one of the most recent ones. This article is obviously from before, when they had not done the strike yet, but UAW did strike GM, Ford, and Stellantis, which is based. We're going to look at why. So let's look at what they are demanding. UAW is demanding a 20% immediate raise and then 4 additional raises of 5% each. Taken together, they'd increase hourly pay by 46% over the 4-year life of this contract, which is awesome, by the way. UAW said that GM and Ford are each proposing 10% increases in the hourly wage rate. Stellantis is offering 14.5, which is not good. Pensions. This one was the big one that I think I saw. The UAW wants a return of traditional pension payment plans, and retiree health care for all UAW members. The important thing here is that the recession, the 2008 recession, they gave up a lot of this stuff because of the recession. Like the automakers were not doing all that well. And then of course, when they all got bailed out and, afterwards, none of this stuff was like really updated that much. And so a lot of this stuff was just given up. Workers hired before 2007 still have their pension benefits, but those hired since don't. And as this notes, like that's a majority of the hourly workers. More job protections. UAW is striking for the right to strike over plant closings, which I think is a big deal. A just transition to electric vehicles. This one is a huge one, by the way, because electric vehicles don't require the same amount of like work and effort that it goes into making a like gas-powered car. And so the automakers are trying to put some money into that, but that's like a concern, right? Because if they're making a bunch of electric vehicles and it's not requiring the same amount of work, like they could end up like cutting labor and stuff. And obviously we want to ensure that doesn't happen. Let's let them speak for themselves. They want it to be a just transition. As members lose their job building gasoline engines and transmissions, they should be able to shift to jobs building electric vehicle batteries and other parts the union demands, which is true. Like these people should be given the training to do this stuff rather than being laid off. And the job should pay the same. That's a big one. At a GM joint venture plant in Ohio, battery workers get far less than the current pay at the UAW auto plants, even after they were granted 20% raises in a recent contract negotiation. That's awful. Let's take a look at some other areas, other strikes. This one was one that I saw and didn't do a whole lot of reading into, but I wanted to give it some screen time, which was UPS. UPS workers got a 5-year contract. To my understanding, it was a pretty good one too. We'll take a look. The union representing UPS workers said Tuesday that its members voted to approve the tentative contact agreement reached last month, putting a final seal on contentious labor negotiations that threatened to disrupt package deliveries for millions of businesses and households nationwide. The Teamster said that 86% of the votes cast were in favor of ratifying the contract. Under the tentative agreement, full and part-time union workers will get $2.75 more, $2.75 more per hour in 2023 and $7.50 more in total by the end of the 5-year contract. Starting hourly pay for part-time employees also got bumped up to $21 an hour, but some workers said that fell short of their expectations. I think that falls short, but I'm glad that they were able to get even that. UPS says by the end of the new contract, the average full-time UPS driver will make about $170,000 annually in pay and benefits. The delivery company also agreed to make Martin Luther King Jr. Day a full holiday and forced overtime on drivers' days off and stopped using driver-facing cameras in cabs, amongst a host of other issues. It eliminated a 2-tier wage system for drivers, and tentative deals on safety issues were also reached, including equipping more trucks with air conditioning. Yeah, because UPS just does not treat its drivers good at all. What were the other ones? I thought there were more. Oh, well, I guess not. Then we have Marvel. We all know Marvel. Everyone here is a Marvel fan. I'm sure of it. Marvel Studios VFX workers voted to unionize. This was, early this month. The National Labor Relations Board oversaw the election, and the count was held Tuesday after the Marvel employees first filed for this election August 7th. Today, VFX workers at Marvel Studios spoke with a unanimous collective voice demanding fair pay for the hours they work, healthcare, a safe and sustainable working environment, and respect for the work they do. Though this union only includes Marvel's in-house VFX workers, its parent company Disney's visual effects crews filed for their own election to unionize with the NLRB and backed by IATSE at the end of August. Those unionizing VFX workers are behind some of Walt Disney Pictures' biggest hits, including the live-action adaptations of The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin, and Pirates of the Caribbean. This is based, by the way. This is awesome. VFX artists in the movie industry routinely, they do not have that great of protections. So seeing, more sets of them unionizing is a big fucking deal, which is a good transition into what else? The writer's strike. Now, as of today, this stream, we have a tentative deal to end the writer's strike. We're going to kind of go over this a little bit. The strike is still in effect. However, they are reaching a tentative agreement. Oh, I thought this article had the actual stuff. The SAG-AFTRA strike is still ongoing right now. But the WGA Writers Guild strike is tentatively agreement. I don't think the terms have been released. Okay. Cool. Then we don't need it. I did just see this before starting stream 2. SAG-AFTRA members approve video game strike authorization with a 98% yes vote. This is awesome, by the way. Now, this doesn't mean that they are going to strike. What this means is that if it comes to that, if they can't reach a deal that they're trying to get with the video game companies, then they are approved to start striking. At this article up too. On Monday, they voted 98.32% in favor of a strike authorization. Now, this is what they said. It's time for the video game companies to stop playing games and get serious about reaching an agreement on this contract. The result of this vote shows our membership understands the existential nature of these negotiations and that the time is now for these companies, which are making billions of dollars and paying their CEOs lavishly, to give our performers an agreement that keeps performing in video games as a viable career. Negotiations over the new contract, which covers voice, motion capture, and stunt work on video games, as well as other performances, have been ongoing for nearly a year with a group of employers, including Activision, Blindlight LLC, Disney Character Voices Incorporated, EA, Epic Games, Formosa, Insomniac, Take-Two Productions, VoiceWork Productions, and WB Games. With these talks, the union is seeking to significantly improve compensation for their performers working under the contract to counteract the effects of inflation, regulate the use of AI for performances in video games, and implement greater safety measures for both on-camera and voice artists. It's not being dramatic to say we're at a crossroads where the very sustainability of a career performing in video games is at stake. Because there's also talks about AI being used in some of this stuff, which could be incredibly bad for voice actors. Between the exploitative uses of AI and lagging wages, those who work in video games are facing many of the same issues as those who work in film and television. The strike authorization makes an emphatic statement that we must reach an agreement that will fairly compensate these talented performers, provide common sense safety measures, and allow them to work with dignities. Our members' livelihoods depend on it. This is based. All of this is based. And this is not everything that I wanted to talk about, right? Because there are other industries that are unionizing. Starbucks just had its unionization. I believe there was filings for unionizing at one of the major video game companies. I can't remember. I could be dreaming that up. I distinctly remember that being a thing. But if not, that should be. Also do that. Also start unionizing the video game companies. Was it Sega? Did Sega get a union? That would be based if so. The reason I mention all of this is because what we are witnessing right now is sort of a resurgence of the era of like workers realizing how they're being exploited and fighting for better working conditions. And this is such a good thing that I can't let it go unnoticed. Even though like a lot of the we don't have the details for the SAG or the WGA, and we don't know what the outcome of all of the different unionization attempts like for Marvel or for the strike over video game companies. We don't exactly know how all of those are going to go or what the end result is going to be just yet. But notice how long a lot of this has been going on. The SAG-AFTRA strike started, like the Writers Guild strike and shit, like that started back in like April, didn't it? April or May? This is like awesome. We're seeing a resurgence of the actual like workers realizing like how they're being exploited. And we need to see more of it. Workers are being underpaid. They're being overworked. They're working like in unsafe working conditions. In the entertainment industry, a lot of them don't even really have a lot of job security because their jobs are being, taken to other areas. That's why the VFX unionization is so important, because of how like unregulated or underserved that industry is. It's so good that like this is happening, and I want to see more of this with other industries. Like Starbucks just unionized. We need to see more of the like retail and service industries unionizing. Even some of the most famous Hollywood actors are receiving crummy residual checks. Yeah, like it's honestly, it's insane how poorly even like people in the entertainment industry are treated. Like we tend to think that like like everyone in the entertainment industry is like a billionaire and they're all like rolling in dough every single day. And that's just not true. That's just like most of them are just like as close to the same income level as a lot of us. And they're not getting like fairly treated at all. The conditions that they have to work in are awful. Yeah, that's a pretty common one that I hear. I hear in interviews all the time, like actors will talk about how like they got paid like basically what, like $5 for doing a role or something like that. And they would like just take them because they didn't have any other choice, because there was no protections for them. They just had to unionize everything. When corporations get up to chicanery, unions buy the company. Instant worker co-ops. Based. Sega workers form largest multi-department video game union in the U.S. Workers at Sega of America representing multiple departments have voted to form a union, with 91 employees voting yes out of a total number of 212 eligible employees. The Allied Employees Guild, Improving Sega, becomes the 5th video game union in the United States and its largest multi-department video game union. This is awesome, by the way. The union drive was announced in April, but it was a year in the works for employees at Sega of America's Burbank and Irvine, California offices. It will represent workers across a multitude of departments, including brand marketing, games as a service, localization, marketing services, product development operations, product development, sales, quality assurance teams, and more. That's awesome. Like the fact that all of these different departments in the company are being represented, that's so great. Yeah, this is just like another example. So many of these companies are starting to get unions, and so many of these companies are starting to face strikes because of the working conditions. They're not paying their employees well, or they're making them work through conditions that they shouldn't have to, by the way, or like because there's like a lack of regulation. We're dealing with like new territory when it comes to AI, and a lot of these industries are pretty concerned about their job security and about how their pay is going to be affected. Just like with the auto workers with electric vehicles. That one's also a little bit new for a lot of people. This is based, in conclusion, this is based, and there should be more of it. We should have more industries unionizing. We should have more industries standing up for workers' rights. Yeah, so many W's, by the way. Like, and that's also an important thing to touch on too, is that like when this kind of stuff is going on, the unionization, these are so many W's. Like the auto workers striking on all three, by the way, all three of the major auto workers, that's the first time that they've done this. Usually they strike with like one or two of them. This is the first time they've gone against all three at the same time. This is a W. Even if they don't get everything that they want, the fact that workers are feeling comfortable enough to go this heavy-handed against companies, to fight for better working conditions, to fight for better pay, to fight for pensions, to fight for better benefits. This is such a good thing. And the same thing with the tentative deal. Now, I don't know the details of any of this, how much of what they were like actually fighting for is going to be included in that. But the fact that they were able to sustain this long of a strike and get stuff out of this, that's a W. And the fact that workers are feeling, empowered enough to go for this, no, fuck, this is so good. And we need to see more industries like this doing this. Like I said, food service industries, retail industries, more creative industries, literally all of them. Start unionizing. Do it now. I want to see all of you union tomorrow. I don't have a whole lot more to say. Like, I wanted to go over this mostly to kind of broadly talk about the consequences of this. Like, this is a good step for workers' rights. As more people see that this can happen, more are going to go for it. And we're going to see like locations being better to work at because of it. That doesn't mean that like it's always going to be successful, but the fact that so many like places are trying this, it's a good sign. This is great for everyone, by the way, because even if like you don't work in a place with union protections, and even if you haven't been able to convince people to start that process, more things like this happening is going to put that in people's like in the public consciousness. More people are going to be willing to do it. And as more places start to unionize and more places start to get better benefits, the places that haven't yet are going to have to compete. They're going to have to like raise the bar a little bit to be able to get people to work there. This is good for everyone. But yeah, this is really good. And I'm really, really glad that it's happening. I don't really have that much more to say, so I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can become a channel member by clicking the join button, leave a super chat or a super thanks. You can become a patron at patreon.com/SaigeAlexis, or you could donate to my coffee. The link for that will be in the description below. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.